Where you are is often explained with numbers on a grid, latitude and longitude, X and Y. But there's another deeper way to say here. It begins with a simple line. Where's who you can reach? Imagine waking in a maze with only a walkie-talkie. You call out. Voices answer, some crisp, some faint, some not at all. Your neighborhood becomes the circle of those you can reach in one hop. Farther means more relays, more waiting. In that moment, place is defined not by meters but by relationships. Think of the world as a web of possible conversations. Two things are adjacent when they can influence each other directly and quickly. Add a second hop, and they feel a little farther. Add 3, and they feel farther still. Distance becomes the effort it takes for a message to get through. You already live by this map. Friends you can text and hear back from in a minute feel closer than those who vanish for weeks. Websites that load instantly feel near. Those that time out feel remote. Your mind has always measured space with the ruler of reachability. This shift sounds radical, but it is quietly familiar. City is not only streets and stones, it is routes, how many turns from here to there, how long the bus takes, where bridges make shortcuts. From the inside, a place is its pattern of paths. When enough paths are short, we call the region tight-knit. When every path is a hall, we call it sparse. You feel it walking a village. You feel it surfing the internet. And nature, at its most fundamental, feels it too. Lay these links down, and a landscape begins to appear. If you know who each node can reach in 1, 2, 3 steps, you can arrange the nodes on a sheet so that easy conversations sit close and hard ones lie farther apart. Without uttering a single coordinate, a shape emerges. Bottlenecks where many paths squeeze through, open plains where routes flare apart. Shape is what a network feels like from the inside. In physics, we call that geometric intuition curvature. But you don't need the word. You already know the sensation. Now, add a quantum twist. There is a special kind of nearness that doesn't depend on roads or wires. It depends on shared information. Two systems can be woven together so that their outcomes line up with uncanny reliability. Touch one here, and predictions about the other sharpen there. This is entanglement, and for our purposes, you can hear it simply. Closeness is the amount of story two things can tell about each other. The larger and more stable the shared story, the nearer they are in this relational sense. A careful promise. Entanglement does not send messages faster than light, does not break causality or let you whisper across the universe. What it does is determine which combinations of outcomes are possible together, the way a duet constrains which notes can harmonize. It shapes correlation, not communication speed. Even so, when you step back and look at the entire web of who relates to whom and how strongly, a remarkable picture forms. Space feels like the shadow cast by these links. You can test the intuition with everyday life. Think about the people who most change your mind. They're close. Not because they share a postcode, but because your conversations land. Their messages thread into your next choices. In the same way, when two parts of nature share many robust correlations, their future moves are tightly coupled. They behave as neighbors, regardless of miles. On the other hand, systems that barely affect each other, that exchange no durable information, live as if far apart, even if they sit on the same lab bench. From links, we move to order. What is time in a relational universe? It's not a river outside events, but the sequence in which relations update. An event is something simple. A message sent, a record written, a knob turned and read. If one event can help determine another, we say the first is before the second. If neither can influence the other, they are simply elsewhere in the order. It's neither earlier nor later for each other, just unconnected. This is where the old clocks and the new picture meet. Relativity taught us that simultaneous for you need not be simultaneous for me. What everyone agrees on is causal order, what can affect what. In our language, who can talk to whom and how quickly. Time becomes the grammar of influence, the permitted sequences of call and response. You feel this too. Text you haven't yet read cannot shape the reply you sent an hour ago. An observation not yet made cannot have guided a decision already taken. The tapestry of influence stitches the arrow, and that arrow strengthens as records accumulate. Every time a fact is copied, from a photon onto a sensor, from a sensor into memory. From memory into 1,000 backups, the past gains weight. There are simply more traces pointing one way. You could, in principle, delete a few notes, but you cannot easily find and unwrite every whisper lodged in dust and heat and archive. Future is where the copies are. That asymmetry is why the past feels settled and the future open. If space is who we can reach and time is the order in which we update, then many puzzles soften. Why do distant galaxies feel remote even when we can see them? Because vision alone is a weak link. Influence remains constrained. Why can two particles act like neighbors while separated by kilometers? Because they share a script, a deep pattern of correlation, though they still respect the speed limit for messages. The map of relations explains both comfort and strangeness without invoking hidden tunnels through causality. You can feel this model at home. Pass a message across your living room, one whisper at a time, child to parent to grandparent to friend, and count the handshakes. That count is a distance in your family's network. Or notice which ideas bounce around your group chat instantly and which die on arrival. You are charting your own geometry, not in meters, but in latency and reliability. You are already a cartographer of connections. That instinct, your ability to read the web you live in, is a quiet superpower. A gentle guardrail, seeing space and time this way, does not tear up the old maps. Meters and seconds remain the right tools for bridges and trains. The relational view tells a more foundational story. Why such maps work, what they measure from the inside, and how they might bend in extreme regimes. It is not mysticism. It is bookkeeping, careful accounting of who can influence whom, by how much, and in what order. There is also a comfort here. If place is defined by relationship, then isolation isn't a void. It's a map with few roots, a signal to build new ones. If time is made of updates, then growth is simply more of your relations coming alive. Where you are becomes something you can change, not by moving your feet alone, but by weaving stronger, kinder, clearer ties. Within yourself, with others, and with the wider world. That is as true for communities as it is for qubits. Pull back one step further. A question appears like dawn over water. This web of links we inhabit, why is it so well behaved? Why, when we compare notes from different vantage points, do we so often agree on the story? Why do our reconstructions of shape and order line up rather than clash? There must be deeper rules that keep our comparisons honest, that guarantee harmony when perspectives shift. Those rules have a name older than telescopes and newer than quantum code. They are the symmetries. The transformations we can make without changing the story. Rotate the scene, translate the stage, change the phase of a quantum chorus, and the melody persists because something is conserved, some promise is kept. Symmetry is the grammar of relationships. The discipline that lets 1,000 local conversations speak a consistent global truth. We will go there next. We will meet the promises the universe keeps when we all change our point of view. For now, hold 2 lines, simple enough to carry in your pocket. Where is who you can reach? And time is the order in which the universe remembers. With those, the world becomes legible, an understandable weave, not an unfathomable fog. And with those, you discover that your own life, too, is a geometry you quietly author, not by drawing axes, but by tending to your links and choosing the order in which your next moments will matter.